Well, I will say, today feels slightly warmer than yesterday. And by slightly, it could be that I'm getting a slightly later start to my walk. Not that I haven't been productive this morning. In fact, I don't believe there's a day where I haven't been productive. There hasn't been a day where I haven't written, composed music, filmed. You know, a lot of people wouldn't call that work. They would call it, I don't know, whatever they call it. I don't really call it work. It's just stuff that most people can't do. Or at least they say they can't do, you know. Most people say, I can't compose music. I have no idea what to do with filming. I have to do multiple takes. I wouldn't know where to begin if I had to write a novel. Those kinds of things. And those are the affirmations that give people fulfillment. So, to each their own. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. To you 35 to 40 viewers who may be seeing this, and only 3 or 4 of you actually chiming in to say something. Merry Christmas, and welcome to the last day of Saturnalia. Today, we will be working on getting ourselves warm again, just like yesterday. Yesterday was about -1, -2 degrees Fahrenheit with wind chill. Today feels more like in the positive, let's say 5 or 6 degrees. So that's a big gain from yesterday. Feels really warm, to be honest. I brought a stone just in case, a beautiful carnelian agate. I'll show it to you. Say hello to the sun. It's a carnelian agate, and I went ahead. Hello, chickadee. I went as far as to warm it up prior to my departure by squeezing it a few times in my hands. And I gotta tell you, it feels like a firestone. It really does. Feels great. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, today's the last day of Saturnalia, where all the merry festivities come to an end and everyone returns to their state of being in hierarchical society, deciding that they're either better or worse than others, and all the same being completely and totally detached. That's 2 adverbs, I know. Completely and totally detached from their own spirit within. And on to the Christmas spirit we go. Right? How ironic these holidays are considering the behavior of those around you, says I on this day. Oh yes. And I'm directing this message to those who have not called, to those who have not left a comment, yet have had conversations about me in private in the form of gossip. I wish to send this message to all of you, and I'm asking the Lord within me for your forgiveness, for you know not what you do. So today's message, today's discourse, will have to do with setting boundaries. For boundaries are gateways to freedom. Think about that. Boundaries are gateways to freedom. And perhaps you've heard me talk about the gateway, whatever that is to you. I talk about it as the narrow gates to the imagination. That gateway. And that gateway, when you set boundaries, is clear, concise, and easy to access. However, you need to know what you're setting boundaries upon, or what you're giving boundaries to, however you want to look at it. Or if you're setting a boundary with something, or with someone. The idea is to define and understand only on the surface what that really means. And what we're talking about today is setting boundaries with time. That's right. Decidedly setting boundaries with time. which means on one side of this boundary, there's the past. On the other side, there's the future. And you are walking between those boundaries because, once again, I'll say it again and again and again, boundaries are gateways to freedom. And on we go. Perhaps you remember a few days ago me reiterating how freedom is the highest form of love, the strongest and most complete form that there is, and that freedom is directly related to your revision of time, namely your pain remembrances. So by revising the stories of your past, knowingly and consciously, you are, in fact, setting boundaries with time, saying, no matter what the world says, no matter what is spoken of me, no matter what happens to me, no matter where I'm dragged off, no matter what restrictions, no matter what incapacitation falls upon me, I can choose at any moment in time not to participate. No matter how hard it is, no matter how much I want to respond, no matter how much I want to say something, how it's so unfair, that is the last thing that I will be doing in setting these boundaries. Because if I participate, I have become just as insane as everybody else in participating in time. For if you participate in time, in the present moment for the sake of discord, or trying to prove a point, or trying to be right, or what have you, you have undoubtedly become insane. And I'm sorry to say it. Please make it temporary, is all I can pray. For if you do not, it will become a habit. And soon enough, that very poor habit, that erroneous habit of yours, will become a personality. And you will be known as the person who speaks about others in a time that has already occurred, that is not happening now, in the attempt to bring others in and infect them with the same disease, which is, please gossip with me. That's a disease. You have a person who's speaking about someone else as if they are separate from them to begin with, so they're not recognizing God in the other. Thus, whatever Christ is inside themselves and the other is just being lashed. So here we are, you're with the Roman prefectorates, and they don't care what you have to say. They don't care about your innocence. All they care about are the terms and conditions given by Pontius Pilate. So here you are, facing the mob, and the mob is the gossip. The mob is the conglomerate of individuals who are decidedly better than you, and higher than you, and smarter than you, and stronger than you, and richer than you. And they're looking at you from a distance, separate from them. While the Christ within you, your inner child, who is most innocent and beautiful and pure, is being chastised over and over and over again. And there's no letting up. Says social media, says the trolls on Reddit, says the family members around the holidays, says my mother and father. So don't say shame on you, just say par for the course. That's what this is, folks. That's why you must establish boundaries, so that you can be free from time, so that you can escape it without having to run, so that you can realize that you're more than a mere participant in this shitty game of life that's been presented to you, that there's something more, something greater, something more beautiful, something more abundant, something much more healthy. But it exists, unfortunately, in the beginning, in the land of the imagination only. So your world of billionaire living, or what have you, in the beginning, it's like any other seed in the garden. Doesn't show. And some seeds take a long time to show. Any sort of life whatsoever. And if you were to dig into that earth and inspect, you would kill all of its progress. So you got to leave it alone. That means you have to be faithful and you have to believe. And you have to see that harvest right now before anything else. You have to decide how that harvest is going to be for you. right now, before anything else. So just breathe. Take a moment. Set an intention. While I'm walking in the cold on your behalf, set an intention on this final day of Saturnalia. What is it that you wish to reap? Which is, what is it that you wish to sow? It's the same thing. Remember we talked about life and death yesterday? Being one. Whatever you sow is what you reap. Seed and harvest are one and the same. The results already exist in the seed. So take this time now, while I get through this final stretch of cold, before the body learns and realizes we're doing the same thing as yesterday. Routine, personality, habit. You see, when many people hear the word boundaries, they think restrictions. They think it's a standstill. Something stops. Gotta put up the boundaries, like a wall. Yes, it's not just one wall, it's two. One on your left, one on your right. And if you really need to, you put one right behind you. And then you walk forward. And you don't let anything in. You don't let any time in. And you walk forward. That's freedom. And it's going to piss off the world. It's going to make them feel confused. But the world is already confused. Let me assure you, the world is confused. Very, very confused. So just listen to that. Dragging along while I warm my hands to the sound of the song. Yes, 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 the world is confused. And the world is not separate from me, but the world is confused. Like the immune system would be confused. As suddenly something arrived that was believed to be good. Turns out it wasn't. Left very confused. Very, very confused. Betrayed even. So we spoke about freedom, the highest form of love. How do you attain it? It's the imagination. You have to believe that what you see in the imagination through faith, which is faith, you're believing in something that does not exist in your physical world yet, through God's manifold expression, to where the rest of the world can recognize it, but you see it. Your seeds are in the garden. The earth is tilled. Everything is prepared. Everything is exactly where it needs to be. The mindset is there. The discipline is there. The affirmations are made. Everything's done. This is why Christ says it at the end. When Jesus is being crucified, the last thing he says is, "It is accomplished. It is done." And so it is. That doesn't mean it exists for the rest of the world. The kingdom that he brings, but he recognizes it as complete before anyone else. 3 days later, the proof starts to show itself. The cave where he is laid to rest, opened and empty. Now the world is in confusion more than ever. I mean, the day of his crucifixion was strange, wasn't it? like something was in the air, something not right, something strange, something unusual, something magical, something profound. Even for those who were throwing tomatoes and rocks and stones and one and the same, yelling, knocking the water out of his hands, placing a crown of thorns on his head. Something was in the air. Something strange. It was the beginning murmurs of freedom. The first step was, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Not bring it on, I'm strong, I got the Lord here with me, I've got this cross, but I can carry it, and I can have someone help me, his name is Simon, I can bring him into this fold. No, it was, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Nothing more was needed than forgiveness. And what is forgiveness again? Freedom. The highest form of self-love. Putting up barriers, boundaries against time. Making your life timeless. What happens when you hear a timeless song? What does that mean to you? A timeless work of art. A masterpiece. What does it mean to you to be timeless? It means you don't decay. It means the message remains the same. It means you're preserved. It means you're immortal. What is birthless, deathless, changeless, forever occupying this space and giving it at the same time? I'll leave it to you. So when you're placing boundaries, you are creating a pathway, a very narrow one, to that very description. And all the drama of the day, all the ill will, all the separation, all of the perceived separation, all the illusion subsides. And what you feel is a blissful contact with the source that gives you life, no matter how cold it may be to the outside world. No matter how hot or unsettling either. You could just stay in this forever. For there is no time, so it is forever. And I just want my hand to be so warm. I'm just taking this opportunity to put up boundaries with the cold. Boundaries with the cold. Boundaries with the indifferent. Boundaries with the hate. Boundaries with the gaslighting. Boundaries with the projections. Boundaries with the illusion that time matters when it doesn't. You keep saying time doesn't matter, the world's going to turn to hate you, because time is God to the world. Lest you forget, this is Saturnalia, a celebration of Saturn himself, the god of time. Yes, the god of harvest, more accurate, but also the god of time. So you have to decide. Do you want your harvest to be random and filled with weeds? Things that are undesirable and not needed, occupying space that's otherwise vital, rich, and primed for wish fulfillment? You have to decide. wherever you place your energy, your attention, your ATP. See how we're walking? Same path, same time, same place. Now it's embedded in your mind. Now you're becoming stronger. You're realizing, I have vital energy that I decide exactly where it goes. And I decide exactly where it goes. Say it twice for the sake of fluidity. That's a joke. Nothing like rewriting on the fly. Nothing like editing your book as the book's being written. Nothing like editing your film as the film's being made. Nothing like revision. For revision is the creation of boundaries with time. You say, the world wants me to come back to this story. The world wants me to believe that these are my limitations. The world wants me to believe that these are the things that I can and cannot do, because it's all the world knows. Because it's all I fed the world. All I fed the world was my failure. All I fed the world was mistakes. All I fed the world was misleading opportunities, primrose paths. That's all I offered the world. For a time, that's all I offered it. But the time's over now. The time has passed. You know, it's funny because I hear a plane, but I don't see one amongst blue skies. Isn't that strange? Well, I think so. 22 minutes, 22 seconds in, and I'm warmer than yesterday. This is where we took in the sun together. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Do 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 do. Yeah, so nice and warm out today. Contrary to popular belief, you ever taken a deep breath and feel relief? There are other ways to feel relief too. I won't go into them today. Do 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 do. Take the electrons in the air and invite them. Make a big cloud of electrons flow. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Boundaries, people, boundaries. You know, you got to set them up. Because if you don't put up boundaries, then everyone's going to be in your business, you know? Every bit of your business they're going to be in. If you don't have those boundaries. And what's beautiful about those boundaries, on the left, with the past, and the right, with the future, is that straight ahead, you got these narrow gates. Yes, the narrow gates that lead to the nation of images in your mind, your imagination. And this imagination will take you in all sorts of directions and ways. Was he pouring water out of his Yeti bottle? I do not know. I will never know. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Oh, another message on the last day of Saturnalia. To all those, whoever pushed the button to ban, block, shadow ban, otherwise oppress any of my work, cancel it, and altogether erase it, including 3.5 years of effort on Substack. I just want you to know, I love you. Yeah, that's the message. I love you. It's not like the books can't be written again. And again. And again. It's not like I didn't gain from doing the exercise, you know? It's like you can't take home every day at the gym. I mean, your muscles do. But you can't take every rep. You know, you gotta sacrifice 30, 40, 50 books, 10, 20 movies, however many songs, you gotta sacrifice them sometimes. And what's beautiful about the future is that AI just says, oh, you want the book back? No problem. I got you. Just tell me what it's about. In fact, if you feed me all of the books that you've already written that haven't been erased by Substack through someone who pushed a button erroneously, who's going to be facing that boomerang one way or another at some point in time. I wouldn't want to be that person, mind you. All is to say, you know, no separateness between us. However, there are antecedents, behaviors, and consequences. So this AI says, feed me all of your books, and I'll know exactly the way you write. I'll know all the characters, I'll know all the scenes, and I'll even make some suggestions as far as an outline goes. And in a matter of 5 minutes, I'll have that beautiful book written for you, however many you'd like, hundreds if you'd like, in your exact style, in the exact way that you would enjoy writing them, just to make up for all that people try to take away from you. I mean, tried to, but couldn't. You see, that's the beautiful thing. Nothing is ever lost. When one door closes, another one opens. And you can't have a door without boundaries, right? You gotta have a wall on the left, gotta have a wall on the right. Without that, you ain't got a door. So to those people who have taken everything away, you have no idea what you've done for me that day. For there is a door that opened that says, how fine, I'll give you everything you want that's been taken from you, multiplied 1,000 times. I already have that. All the books that would have had to have been promoted, sold, marketed, edited, picked apart, otherwise nuanced. I don't have to do any of that anymore. I just give it to AI. AI will never make those criticisms. AI will never make anything other than productivity. That's God. In the same way, God is good. But if I say, tear this apart, be horrible, give me a terrible review like you're reading it from the New Yorker, someone jealous who hasn't written a book in 10 years but hates to see it all the same and has to write a review. Write me a review about that, with that, in that. Give me that. AI says, sure, no problem. As you wish. Like a genie, as you wish. Don't you see? I wanted to irk you. Everything that's been taken from me. All those who took it. I want this to irk you. I want this to bother you. And I also wanted to motivate you to get up off your ass, get on the computer, and start using AI. So you can write your own books. But then you're going to have to promote your book. You're going to have to believe in your book. You're going to have to know what your book means. I mean, you're going to have to pretend like you wrote it. You know? And that's what people want. They want the people who wrote it. They want the author. They don't want the book. They want to know the author. How are you going to explain that? You know? But I can. I can do that because I wrote the books. You see? That's how it works. I did the work. I wrote the books. And so you could say the observer of William Vincent Carleton's aliveness right now is just letting him go off because it's the last day of folly, you know. This is the last day of Saturnalia. and we're supposed to be jovial and kind to each other. We're also supposed to play around with each other, mess with each other, troll each other a little bit. And I'm thinking, hey, since I've been trolled this week for the majority of the time by people who I once trusted and loved but don't any further, because I realize if I trust them any further, it's going to be like trusting someone who's unconscious in the Matrix, who has no connection to reality whatsoever, completely lost. And at the same time, claiming that you are lost. You're the one who has the problems. Deflecting and victim blaming and doing all the sorts of narcissistic behavior leading on to borderline personality disorder that you could possibly imagine. So just put up boundaries. Just put up boundaries. Put them on the left. Put them on the right. Just like a horse on the highway. Just keep going while remaining still. Because otherwise it becomes that bullshit. All of that rant. It just becomes a rant. It's not like I don't know what's going on. It's not like I can't recognize mental illness. It's not like I'm not a behaviorist any longer. It's not like I gave up all of that knowledge. See? That ha. It's the same ha that our beloved Shelley Duvall used to give in her final interview with Dr. Phil, God rest her soul. That was a horrible interview. Saw a woman who truly believed she was living a performance. Or maybe she was performing the entire time, just to be freed from the whole thing. You see, you'll never know. Just like you'll never know whether or not that was water coming out of the Yeti bottle or something else. You'll never know. Some people might be a lot smarter than you think. A lot more connected to God than you think. You really never know. Oh, the chickadees are singing today. Listen. The woodpeckers are pecking. That is a downy woodpecker, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see if I can capture it on camera. Looks like a downy. It's hard to tell. It's as far as the zoom goes. It's front and center in the screen right now. Small. Yeah, it looks like a downy. Oh, I also hear a nuthatch. It makes a little squeak toy noise. It's the best way to describe it. It's a peaceful day in the woods. When is it not a peaceful day in the woods? That's the big question. That should be revealing. When is it not a peaceful day in the woods? And when are boundaries not gateways to freedom? You see, you haven't put up proper boundaries if you don't feel free after putting them up. Leads us to the next part of our discourse. Be sure you know what kind of boundaries you're putting up. You see, if you put up a boundary in the present, then you're being like everybody else who's insane. If you're putting up boundaries for the present moment, you'll miss moments like that. You'll miss the direction in which the birds are flying. You won't even know what augury means. You'll have to look it up. Augury, what is augury? Yeah, you'll miss all that stuff. If you put up boundaries to the present moment, well, then you'll only have the past and the future. That's what everyone does, for the most part. The only way they can be present, anyone, is to just mask it with some sort of distraction. An argument, a judgment, a spill of gossip, judgment, labeling. Because you can't be present if you put up boundaries to it. You put up boundaries to the present moment, then Like I said, all you have is time. And if all you have is time, then all you have is suffering. If all you have is suffering, that's not a life. That's called slavery. Where you're giving your power to something that, in truth, doesn't want it. When you speak about someone when they're not present, you're giving them your power. You see, they'll never know that you spoke those things, so the boomerang is clean, comes back around. The person's not there to resist. Don't you see? When you gossip, there's no quicker way to damage yourself. Triangulation is gossip. Gossip is living in time. In fact, some people live so deeply in gossip that they will pretend that the story is happening now. And beyond that, they'll try to involve other people to participate as if it is happening right now by talking to them as if the person who they're gossiping about is right before them. And this is probably the greatest form of sickness. I would call it a mental illness for sure. But like, once again, it happens so frequently and happens on social media and is reinforced so often in just about everything that you do, that it's seen as normal. But here's an example. One person calls another and says, "You won't believe what so-and-so said to me today in text." Going off again. Okay, so there's the judgments already flowing. "Oh yeah, please give me the chisme, give me the gossip, tell me all of it." And so the person starts talking. So, yeah, so I was having a good morning. If it wasn't for this message coming in again, but you know how it is, you know how this person is. Constantly living in an illusion, mentally ill, whatever. And so this person says to me, "What you're doing is unfair." And I'm like, "What I'm doing is unfair?" Here it comes. Watch how this happens. "What I'm doing is unfair? Well, how about when you did X, Y, and Z? And don't you think that was being selfish?" So what the person is doing is they're inviting themselves into a conversation that happened in the past with the person they're gossiping with, who knows nothing of the conversation, triangulating and creating a scenario as if they're actually there. Now, here's the big kicker when it comes to all that. Like anyone else who does this mistake, that the story that you're telling has nothing to do with the truth, and that most of the stuff that's being said never actually was said. Either giving or receiving never was said. That's what's really sick about this. So you see how many layers are involved now? There's no resolution that's going to come from this. There's no peace that's going to come from this, other than the false identification of peace by pummeling someone in the ground who's not there, supposedly in your mind, when the person will never know. So they'll never be involved. So all you're doing is pummeling yourself and the person who you reeled in this conversation. So the person feels all that energy, obviously, but they don't know how to process it. The person who's on the other side of the line or the other side of the text messages, they want to respond, because they don't know what to do with all that shitty energy. I mean, it's really shitty energy, so they start telling their own story. Either about the person in the same way. "Well, that's what so-and-so said to me. You wouldn't believe this message. You want to hear this message? Great, let me send it to you. Let me forward it over to you. I know, can you believe it? What a horrible thing to say. But I heard he even said something even worse to the other person. Yeah. I have that message. You want to hear that message too? Here it comes." And on this goes. Meanwhile, the person who's the subject matter knows none of it. Knows nothing of it. And there's just trespassing after trespassing after trespassing in the attempt to define someone as that, whatever that message was. This is the blueprint of who the person is according to the story being told. says the subconscious mind receives it. This person spent enough time fabricating these stories, fabricating these lies, saying these things, sharing snippets, like what the media does, grabbing things out of context, not showing any empathy whatsoever. And by the time this whole thing is done, that is the most felt thing in the day. And the person who is supposedly involved doesn't hear any of it. So it's a huge boomerang that gets sent out, and it's a boomerang of hate. It gets sent out, it doesn't go to the person because they never heard it, they don't receive it. It comes back, hits you right in the head. But you're not going to notice it. You're going to think it's something else. You're going to say, what a shitty day to have all this traffic. What a shitty day to get these raised PSA levels in my doctor's visit, I thought everything was going so well. Man, what a difficult day this is. It's because of this person doing this to me. This person cut me off on the highway, and the next thing you know, I got a low pressure in my tire. And each and every one of those situations is a manifestation that's trying to process all the shit you threw. Just so you know, God is listening. Every time you gossip, coal in your own stocking. Now you could sit there and say, I like coal. You can pretend, that's gaslighting. Somebody had asked in the comments, not sure what gaslighting is. It comes from a movie called Gaslight, where there's a woman who's trying to figure out her husband. Her husband is not able to be figured out because all he's doing is saying, honey, you didn't understand the story. This is how it really went. What you're thinking is not actually what happened. Here's what actually happened, honey. And on this goes for a while until the wife starts to truly believe she's a piece of shit. Or what have you, sick, messed up, deranged. Because she's actually believing what this external circumstance, her husband or boyfriend, whatever, is trying to convince her of being. She believes it. She buys in. She doesn't put up any boundaries. In fact, she does put up a boundary. She puts up a boundary to the truth, her intuition, decides not to trust it, falls astray, led down the primrose path. That is what it is to be gaslit. And you see, gaslighting occurs, especially a lot nowadays, because people are so concerned about their image, because their image is their business, their brand. South Park does a great episode on this. You should look up South Park with branding. It's great. I think it's the one with Prince William. No. Maybe it's Harry. I don't know. Well, it doesn't matter. Whoever's married to Meghan Markle. I think that's Harry. He's a veteran. You gotta love the guy, Gotta love the veterans. Poor guy. Talk about being gaslit. Meghan Markle. One day she's, person of color. Next day she's a person of another color. It's just so confusing. It's so difficult to understand when it's so inconsistent. Makes you want to have to put up boundaries. To have freedom from it. Capiche? Yeah, so gaslighting is a shitty thing, and it comes from people being completely enamored with themselves through narcissism. Their identity and how they are perceived by society determines whether or not they have a wish-fulfilled life, supposedly. I mean, everything that you sell is attached to your name and brand. And yet I keep putting these videos out. Must tell you something about what I think of my brand. The brand that is William Vincent Carlton, the broken down piece of meat. That's what I should call myself. Hi, I'm William Vincent Carlton, the broken down piece of meat. I am a victim. Please pay me. Please pay me all you have because I'm a victim. I want to join in on the fun. I want to become part of this success train that has to do with self-deprecation and all sorts of other things. And at the same time, if anyone tries to tell me that I'm wrong or that I've done something wrong and try to get me to fess up and show me all the evidence, and if the evidence is glaring, it still doesn't matter to me because I am a narcissist. And I know how to get past this. I'm going to bury this truth deep down into my gut. And I'm going to say, I just don't recall any of those things. I just don't recall ever saying those things, you know? And if you're saying that I said these things, then it's being pulled out of context. That's gaslighting, okay? Now you got the example, now you know what's going on. If you care about your image more than you care about your aliveness, if you care about time more than you care about the present moment, then you are fucked. Quintessentially, you have enslaved yourself with your idea of a perfect image. And that perfect image isn't going to save you. There's no salvation in that. There's no restitution. There's no remuneration. There's just mockery, belittlement, and indifference. As these boomerangs catch up, they catch up real hard. So what does it say about me? William Vincent Carlton, the broken down piece of meat. I must have thrown a lot of boomerangs. Must have had a lot of conversations with people without the person who I was talking about being present. Must have done a lot of that. Or maybe, if I don't recall that, just don't recall that. All the same, these things seem to be happening, so it must be, like I said before, generational trauma. Remember, it was right here, 3 days ago on this path. I said the very words generational trauma. We have hit another marker. And do you think I'm pulling out these markers, looking at a piece of paper, saying, okay, this is where I talk about generational trauma. It's right at this point, because I talked about it 3 days ago. No, that would be insane. The trees remind me. Yes, the trees remind me. Something reminds me. This aliveness reminds me that is the place where you talk about generational trauma. Without knowing, the words just come in. Oh, it's 46 minutes. Make that 47 minutes for strength itself. And I feel warm as can be on this beautiful December 23rd, 2024. The last day of Saturnalia. The last day of harvest. Because that was the big message from Saturn. It was, no. Forget about time. I know I'm the god of time, but forget about time. Please. Let's do another round. Since we're warm, Saturn says, forget about time. Instead, let's replace fear with love. Let's put up some boundaries between the past and the future. And let's turn all that fear into love. By casting these burdens on the Christ within, going free, says Saturn. He's Santa Claus. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have to abide by time, right? He arrives at everyone's place at the exact same time, and the presents seem to arrive at the exact same time. I mean, Google says there's a timeline, but, that's Google. What would they be without time? Everything that they have has to do with either the past or the future. Everything that they promote and project, none of it has to do with the present moment. So, to them, Santa Claus is, in his sleigh, making the trip in this sub-degree weather. But I would believe that he's just delivering presents in the present at a specific moment on a specific day as a form of God's manifold expression. That's how I like to see Santa Claus delivering gifts, so that I can forget about time, so I can forget about what this all means this time of year, and instead just see it like any other day. So yes, Saturn is saying, please, let's try not to harp on time so much anymore, because I'm also the god of harvest, lest you forget. So let's think about those seeds, the seeds from this year, and let's celebrate the spring, knowing those seeds will be expressed. Have you tilled the earth? Well, the ground looks pretty frozen. It's going to be hard to do. You should learn from that. You should have planted your garden, at least the garlic, and the root vegetables back in September, October. Because right now it's like, that's diamond. You're not going to get through it. Not without cutting your hands. But let's not think about that, says Saturn, because we're here to rejoice one last day. So instead, let's be merry. Let's celebrate freedom and oneness. Let us see ourselves as equals. And let us get over ourselves, including our egoic selves, especially. But most people can't do that. Most people are writing on the gifts that they give to and from, right? Well, that's the vanity right there, to and from. Merry Christmas from the Carlton family, to and from. You think the child doesn't know who it's coming from? Think the adult doesn't know? Do you think they would care? Only if they had their own ego in the way. They're caring about whether or not they've reciprocated with their own gift, said the appropriate amount of words in response. It's just very formal, this moral code of Christmas, to where people become stressed out beyond belief. Yeah, my own mother, she wanted to get a gift certificate for her friend, and she said, well, I've given her the same gift the last 2 years and I haven't heard from her, so I just don't know if they're being received. Is it possible that this could be lost in the United States Postal Service mail? And I said, well, they have the worst record right now going that they ever have had, probably since the 1800s, as far as letters and packages not being delivered. So it's quite a possibility. At the same time, who cares? It's the intention. You've already put it in. You've already bought the gift. Whether or not it's received doesn't matter. The intention is there. Well, that wasn't well received. You can imagine. But I learned that in doing that, you can have peace. Yeah, you just give without thinking about how the person's going to respond, or if, or when, how, with what. I mean, isn't that what we do with our children when we give gifts to them? We're not expecting anything in return unless we're total morons. Some of us are. You better say thank you for that gift. Oh, I didn't realize that. Thank you for reminding me. Reminding me where this came from. Wait a minute, who gives you life again? Who's giving you cells from the marrow of your bones right now, exuding into your body, giving you all the repair and removal of all the garbage that's in it? Who is that again? That is assimilating your food that you just had, stuffing yourself with stuffing and other goodies. Who's turning that into cells? Should I be saying thank you to him or you? Who's my God again? Lest I checked the 10 Commandments, I thought it was within. Maybe I'm wrong. I guess I have to check the tablets again. But I'm pretty sure the first one says, thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. And if I'm saying thank you to you, I mean your ego, your collection of life experiences, and your vanity included. And I'm not being very thankful, am I? For I thought I'm supposed to be thankful to that which gives me the gift of life itself and all things within. In that case, thank you, God. Well, don't call me God, says the person. Don't call me God. I just wanted a thanks. But you are God, because I would never thank you, your ego self, because your ego self is a broken down piece of meat. I would never thank that. I thank that which powers that for this gift, says I. You catching it now? It's a little bit of a word play. We're doing some wordsmithing today, but it makes sense if you just think about it. If you just go back and retry, you'll get through the level, just like me. Hey, have a look. There's a shadow. Is that me? Or is that my shadow? Or is it really mine? Or is it the sun's? But does the sun belong to God too? I don't know. It gets so confusing when we think about to and from, you know? What belongs to who, how, why, when. Lots of time involved. That's why Saturn says, just enjoy the fruits of thy labor on this beautiful day that is a gift from God and is perfect grace. Just enjoy. That was a good round. 55 minutes, 41 seconds. Nice. Moving. Feel nice and warm now. Feel good. Let's get some speed. Do you want to see speed? Whoa. So you got to be like a kid sometimes. Then you slow down. You can be like an adult. You can be like a kid again. You can enjoy your presents on Christmas, no matter who they're coming from, no matter what is told to you. You have to appreciate. And then slow down and be an adult. Say thank you. Play the role. Be the participant. You know, you don't want to be outcast by everyone. You know how it is. Let's do another round. Why not? We're only 56 minutes and 34 seconds in. Let's go. Let's do another on this cold day for you and me. See, the nostrils really get working right now. This is breaking the fourth wall for the sake of telling you some science. So lots of anandamide. If you haven't told the difference by now, a little tripping over my words. It's because I'm blissed. I know that the body is responding. God's got my back. Just feels great. Feels great to defy science. Just feels good to be a rebel, to be a conservative rebel. Who would have thought that being conservative was rebellious? I thought conservative has something to do with conservation, like conservation of energy. I spoke about this before, right? The difference between conservatives and liberals is the word itself. But to be conservative right now, that's to be a rebel. Yeah, because conservatives are putting up boundaries all the time. Saying, nope, you're not going to know my business. No, you're not going to see my property. No, you're not going to come in. No, you're not going to see my work, and you're certainly not going to hear about my prayers. No, I'm going to conserve that energy, that ATP, for that which is most important, my family and those who actually care about me, who actually give a call, who actually leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Those who actually care will be receiving my conserved energy. But, you know, most of these folks are thinking, well, why can't you be more liberal with your energy? Why can't you just give it to everyone? I mean, who cares if we're talking about you? Once again, you said it yourself. It's a boomerang that comes around to hit me. If you're not there, I can talk about you. What's wrong with talking about you? There's nothing wrong with talking about me. Go ahead. It just has nothing to do with me. This does. Not you. Me. I have to do with me. But that story has nothing to do with me. It has to do with you. You see? There's nothing wrong with it. The only issue is you're using your imagination to create time, things that have already happened in the past, drawing them into the present moment somehow erroneously, but you've done it. It's a shit storm, it's a shit show, but you've done it. And now you're presenting it to people like it's some gift. Like it's something joyful to talk about. When you could be writing a book. You could be wrapping gifts and giving them out anonymously. You could be tapping the like button or the subscribe button. I mean, you could be doing so many things other than talking shit about people. But you want to, so I guess that's your present. I guess that's your present. My present is this right here. So unless you're right here with me, you don't know me. And even if you were, you still don't know me. Because you haven't been through every experience that I've been through, just as I haven't been through every experience you've been through. So I don't know you, but I'm willing to. So long as you meet me right over here between the narrow gates that lead to our wish fulfillment. If you are on board with going there and seeing me as the billionaire that I see, as the success, the care provider, the perfect husband, the perfect father, the perfect community member, the perfect serviceman, a man of service. If you see me as that, then you're with me and you understand me and you know me. But if you don't see that, you don't see me, and you certainly don't know me. It's not my job to get you to know me. And the aliveness, observing William Vincent Carlton is once again giving a little golf clap and saying, well done. I'll let you play some more, William. Go ahead. Keep playing. Keep being that strange person. All right, we're going to cross paths with someone. Notice how I hesitated? It's okay. Take a look at the sky. Maybe a near miss, which is the same as saying a near hit. Isn't that strange? It's not a near miss, it's a near hit. A hit is crossing paths, not a near miss. Because if it's a near miss, then it's a hit. Isn't that strange? I think so. But we say it anyway. Just like we tell stories. See, I talk stories about these people that we're going to have a near hit with. We never actually have a hit. Isn't that how it works, gossip? You think you're going to cross paths with the person in the story, but you never quite do. So you have to do the best that you can to make do. So you make something up, and so you do. You make something up, so you do. And you do. And you do. Wow, we did 3 rounds today. We're now an hour and 2 minutes in. I don't think I'm shivering. Shouldn't I be? Does that irk you? Does that set you off and trigger you? And don't think I'm talking to you. The 20 or 30 people that watch this religiously, we're probably being paid, half of them, to watch it for moderation purposes. I just want you to know how much I love you for doing that. Because I'm clearly out of control, you see? Probably should be silenced. You got what? Less than a month to do your worst? And then the tides will just shift and change, won't they? I think so. I think the tides are just going to shift. A lot of you are probably worried about losing your jobs, losing opportunities, and if you keep thinking that, you're probably going to lose them. I would say be more optimistic. Like, comment, and subscribe while you have the opportunity, Because if you do, you can say, well, it took me some time to realize I was woke and that I was blue-pilled and living unconsciously in an egoic self that was consumed by narcissism and creeping into a world of borderline personality disorder where I would take no responsibility for any of my errors or any of my ill will towards people. And I just heard this vagabond, broken down piece of meat talking in the woods about these very things, and I decided that I would like, comment, and subscribe before the rest. And so please don't fire me, because I am a true convert. And I see the truth and the light. Dear Lord, I found my way. Believe me, I know I was making $17 million every 2 years off of OnlyFans, but that was just a part of me. You know, I felt like there was a window or a doorway of opportunity, and so I put up the barriers, you know. I put them up. Oh, they're not barriers? Oh yeah, I put up the boundaries. And the boundaries were morality, nope, not gonna let it in. Fairness, nope, not gonna let it in. I'm going to exploit this situation. And those were my boundaries, and I made $17 million, and now I found God. And I would rather not have any consequences for finding God. Because I made this decision to like, comment, and subscribe now. Before most of the other people who are making millions of dollars off of OnlyFans selling their body so that they'll never get it back again. Never get it back. Sell it. To the lowest and highest bidders. All the same. Sell it. Yes, that was the standard for making money during COVID, wasn't it? Well, we were told we got to stay inside, so we might as well sell our souls, sell our bodies, make it the standard for everyone to thrive. You know, they're just life decisions. It's not like you hadn't considered it. You didn't do it. No, people were down and out, thinking, "Oh, I still got a body that works, still fairly decent in its shape. You know, there's a niche somewhere where I can use this while everyone pretends to use me over and over again for their imagination." $17 million. I heard that was the story with one of them. One of the so-called ladies who found Christ afterwards. I'm sure that made her a pretty penny too. Got her a nice husband. I feel bad for that guy. Dipping into a petri dish every time he makes love to her. It's too bad. Such a shame. Such a shame. Hour and 7 minutes and 27 seconds. I feel warm. How about you? Or are you feeling cold after what I just said? I don't know, maybe you are. Don't feel too cold now. I might make this go viral. Might actually learn something. Might actually harvest something on this day other than time. Yeah, I don't have respect for women who cheat. Or men, for that matter. Anyone who cheats on their spouse. Pretty much the lowest of the low as far as I can believe in people and judge people. You can rest assured I don't want anything to do with you, because I remember myself being that way, and I was a rotten person. I don't want to be around cheaters. You can't trust them. You can only trust the loyal. That's why I have so few friends, or any for that matter, that I could call upon other than God, and God's enough. Certainly enough for me. But yeah, you get caught up in this world of vanity, and the world says you've got it right now, you might as well use it. And I'm thinking to myself, women believed they were using their bodies in the right way by selling it as a prostitute online. And I'm thinking, where's the children? Where are the children? Where's the child? Where's the child? Where are the children? If there were children before, where were they while this was happening? If there are no children now, how is it that so much procreation was happening yet no life? No life was created. It's because it's for the almighty God money. God money. God money says, don't have children. Yes, sell your body while it's useful, while it's vital. Sell it. Yes, men and women did this. Men and women, but especially women. I think any man's going to want to come close to you. Going to want to marry you. You better spend that money wisely. Get yourself a nice estate in another country where you learn another language and you get some surgery and some Botox and you pretend like you're more innocent than you are. That's my suggestion to you. Cultivate some land. Get yourself some property. Don't go buy those Louis Vuitton bags because they're not going to fucking help you stay warm in the middle of the winter unless you're burning it. So, that's my suggestion. Invest in some cryptocurrency too. If you haven't already, I'm sure those who are pretending to have been banging you while you were selling your body erroneously online for millions of dollars might have been smart enough and cared enough for you, even though you were selling yourself to other men at the same time, to tell you what you should be doing with your beautiful ingresos, your income. Your income. Get it? Your income. That's what you got. No life, just income. No future. No. No present, no past. Just income. And then you come to a crossroads. You say, holy shit. What did I just do? I mean, I know they're not hiring anyone, even eligible people, but it's likely I won't be considered. Right? No life. Just income. How many of you live like that? Forget prostitution online. How many of you sell your souls for income? How many are being impregnated by God money, which promises you life, happiness, wish fulfillment, and leaves you feeling empty in the later stages of life? How many? Show of hands. Hard talks today, but it's the last day of Saturnalia. I might as well use this opportunity before I no longer get away with it. Since we're all equals, even though I'm saying I want nothing to do with you, setting myself at a distance, it's just, if this universe were a body, what would you be? You'd be a virus. You'd be something that presents itself as pleasurable. But the truth of the matter is you're not. Because you're not creating any life. You're just consuming it with your income. Taking life rather than making life. And how many relationships were wasted because of it? It seems like God really wants me to hammer this home. My suggestion to the women of this world is, if you are still young enough to have your dignity and not have not sold it yet to the highest and lowest bidders for attention and income, then I highly suggest you just take a deep breath, be still, and ask yourself if you want to be cared for in the later years of your life by the life that you create. Because this will be a very important moment. And I wish that my daughter hears this too. Of course, she's not excluded from this conversation, no matter if she's young. I'm talking 11. She'll be going through puberty soon enough. Important for everyone to understand, women particularly, that once you give up your body, you've given up your dignity and you've given up your value. So you better decide, before you give it up, how you decide to live your future in the now. Your children are the only ones who can care for you, or will. Trust me, I've seen it. I've seen it. I see it every day. And you may be a bitter person in your later years. You may be very unpleasant. You may not want to hear it, but you might be it. And only your children are going to have the patience and the kindness to want to help you in your later years. The rest will just be part of the skilled nursing home that puts you through hell on the daily if you've done even one thing wrong, even if you didn't mean to do any wrong. It's because the person coming in has their own shit to deal with. They shouldn't be working there, but they are. You see, you're not seeing that far down the road because you're seeing income. You're seeing professionalism, you're seeing your career, but you're not seeing your future. And I am the ghost of Christmas future on this day. So it's not going to be palatable for most. It's not going to taste good. It's not going to feel good, it's not going to see good. You're not going to see it. Yeah. See well, see good, whatever it is, it's not going to feel anything close to what you want. It's my choice. You came here. I didn't come to you. You came here. And so here's your income. I'm allowed not to like people, and I'm allowed to not like things, and I don't like cheaters. I don't like adulterers. Not at all. They're family breakers. Choosing selfishness for pleasure, fleeting moments for the breaking of the family. I don't like them. And I'm allowed not to like them, says the Lord. Because I'm not thinking about the cheating itself, as joyous as it may have been to break people's hearts. Ask yourself, all of you cheaters, you adulterers, would you have allowed this to happen with your children in the room? And if so, you should probably be hanged in the old-fashioned way. I said you should be, probably, in the old-fashioned way. I guess in the Middle East you would be, still. But instead, here in the United States and in Mexico, it's celebrated. Not sure what's going on in Canada. But at least here in the States and in Mexico, adultery is celebrated by Satan himself, I'm sure. One of his key cards, his calling card, is let me break you down so much so that you feel something is missing in your life, so much so that you go looking for it, so much so that you find it, so much. And so much for your family, so much for your children, so much for your spouse, so much. I mean, think about it. It's the destruction of an entire family unit. It puts everyone at risk. Puts the children at risk, especially if there's an introduction of the person who did the cheating. That becomes a step parent. Chances of abuse go up 300% to 800% depending on the situation. That's not something that I will ever support. Ever. And I would never present myself to those children as their father. Never. Ever. Even if they wanted to call me dad. Bottom line is, I won't be there. I won't join a situation like that for the sake of the children, even if I know that my presence would help them in their development. Because I wouldn't be able to wrap my head around the idea that I took part in the destruction of what the husband thought was pure, holistic, well-rounded, and secure. No, it's worse than a home invasion. It's theft of home. Happens all the time in Western society, and it is revered. So yeah, I didn't go as far as to say I hate that, but the last thing I want to be around is an adulterer. Someone could say, William, you're a hypocrite yourself. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Because I know what I want. And the barriers give me freedom. The boundaries. The boundaries are like this. No woman in my life unless she's innocent. In body, mind, and spirit. Listen to this. Young women of this world. Do not fall short of your innocence. Claim it as the most valuable thing that you have to offer because it is. Do not think that by giving it up for attention, you will somehow be fulfilled. And if you are promised income, even worse, do not believe it. Young women of this world, hold on to your innocence. It will serve you. It will serve you in love. It will serve you in marriage. It will serve you in career. It will serve you as a mother. And what you will find in the later years of your life is, even if you're like my mom, who's got her issues, one issue she doesn't have is with loyalty. Always loyal to her husband. And because of that, no matter what she says to me, no matter what she does, no matter how she tries to play the game, no matter how erroneously she moves the pieces, no matter how much she blunders, I love her, and I'm here for her, and I care for her. Because she's a loyal wife to her husband, even though her husband is not with her. You hear that, Dad? Right now, you're not with your wife. It's December 23rd. Do I have to ask you what the fuck is wrong with you? Do I have to? Dear Dad, be with your wife. It's Christmas. Dear Dad, on the anniversary of your 50th wedding anniversary, be with your wife. Dear Dad, talk to your grandchildren. It's been 7 years. Dear Dad, what the fuck is wrong with you? Because a broken down piece of meat has more of a relationship with his own children who live in another country. Dear Dad, what the fuck is wrong with you? You have no excuse. Your wife was loyal to you and still is. You have no excuse to be at a distance. Shape up. I know you're watching. Even though you don't leave comments and you don't leave likes and you share it with the world behind closed doors, shape up. Shape up. And for all the men in this world who are married and have excuses to not be with your wife, excuses to not do everything that you can to be with your family, including myself, should I falter with my own standards and not going in to the imagination and seeing my children as blissed out and joyful on this Christmas holiday in New England, then I am not doing my part, but I am. So anyone else who's failing, shape up before I ask you what the fuck is wrong with you on this final day of folly. Because tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and then I have to be very well behaved. But at least today I can get away with these things, you see. So much for tomorrow. Thank God we're outside. And if you've fallen into the temptation of adultery in the past, it's the past. Let it go. Are you an adulterer or not? Ask yourself. Are you still seeking out the same gratification or not? Ask yourself. Because it's the past. You're allowed to forgive yourself. Yes, you could have made $17 million in 2 years selling your body. It's the past. Are you reverent towards your body now or not? Are you still seeking out the same gratification or not? Questions to ask yourself on this day. For every time that you think you're actually making a wish, Every entertained thought is a seed planted in the mind of God. Seed and harvest are one and the same. There's no distance other than the distance you make between them. So if your blueprint is, I'm going to cheat, then that is what you will do. Don't cheat yourself. Don't cheat your children. Don't cheat your family. Be pure. That's my prayer for you. So as you wish, keep wishing well, consciously, with poise and determination. And let the words that I've said today just act as sounds, draping down off your shoulders, not having any meaning whatsoever because you're stronger than that, right? Strong enough to not give your power to me in the form of a lurk, but you'd have the courage enough to say thank you for this divine wisdom that was handed to me by a vagabond on this day, dear Lord. God bless you and your family. God bless this beautiful country and planet. God bless President-elect Trump. God bless the United States of America. And Merry Christmas to all. And to all, a good night. Boundaries are the gateways to freedom. Freedom is the highest form of love, and love is